Welcome back to another video. This time it's a $5 bike that I picked up. You can probably tell by the title it's a Diamondback Ascent 91. Kind of just going to go through what I did to it, how I restored it, and kind of how I painted it as well. And then yeah, just problems along the way. Yeah, the video is pretty long, so I'm going to put the timestamps in the description. So yeah, if you want to skip ahead, you can skip ahead. But yeah, hope you like it. Alright, here's the bike I saw on Facebook Marketplace. These are pictures from the actual listing. It was listed at $5. It was actually up for a little bit and no one else jumped on it. But yeah, I saw the T-bone stem and I thought, hey, $5, may as well go pick it up, see what I got. You can see the chain's a little bit buckled there. But yeah, the guy was kind of like super nice. He said it wasn't really working. But yeah. Alright, here's the bike, got it home. Yeah, I ended up ghosting it all the way home since I couldn't ride at home. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. Yeah, it was pretty rusted through. It was hung up for a long time. It didn't ride, so I definitely was trying to get rid of it, you know. But yeah, I got lucky. I think the T-bone stem was worth $5 itself, so I kind of just went and picked it up. You can see, yeah, someone kind of sprayed it all blue as well. But yeah, here's the hubs, XH hubs. They spun pretty well, so I thought I could save those. And then just some plastic Shimano brakes there. Someone replaced the brake pads. This Kinlin rim on the front, and then I think there's a ray on the back. Some XH LX, I think 400 LX cranks. But yeah, it looks like someone did some crank grinds or something. Seems pretty crazy. But yeah, the chain ring seemed fine. It would clean up pretty well, like wasn't terrible. XH 300 LX front mech. You can see someone with the spray can went a bit crazy, went over the yeah, just over the parts as well. 400 XH LX remech. They said it wasn't working, it was broken, but I think it just wasn't attached on properly. And then the rear cassette, I think the teeth were okay. You know, you could clean that up and that would work pretty well. And then the XH rehub as well, which spun pretty well as well. Surprised, considering the condition of the bike. Yeah, you can see the Array RX-7 rim. Someone sprayed gold. So yeah, you can see all the spray paint. Someone sprayed the seat post as well. Yeah, so here's the stem, T-bone stem, oversized stem, 25.4. And then yeah, once again with the paint drips, I think someone just went to town on this, spraying this. Yeah, I guess they really didn't like the color underneath, which you can see like a little bit of neon orange coming through. But yeah, here's the overall bike, so we'll clean up, see what we can do. Alright, here, taking off the rear mac. Yeah, it seemed fine when I took it off, like the springs worked, and it seemed okay, so I think it just wasn't on properly. And then, yeah, just taking off the chain here with my chain breaker tool. That's on my multi-tool, which makes it a little bit harder, but it worked out. Taking off the pedals, yeah, taking off the pedals while they're still on the bike. Yeah, makes it a little bit easier. Thanks for the tips, everyone. Taking off the wheels here and taking off the brakes. Pretty straightforward here. No real problems yet. Taking off the brake levers and the brake shifters. Taking off the stem. First problem I ran into was taking off the cranks. So yeah, it was kind of super hard to take off, and I didn't want to strip the threads, so just kind of soaked it in WD-40. The left one came off pretty easily, but the right one was super hard, so I kind of soaked it, waited a little bit, soaked it, and came back to it. Eventually it popped off. So yeah, pretty stoked about that. And then the next thing was the bottom bracket, taking the bottom bracket off. Once again, this was a little bit hard to get out, so just use WD-40 again. one side ended up coming off, so I was able to put WD-40 down in that crack there next to the bottom bracket, hoping WD-40 would drip through to the other side. And then eventually, after a little bit of soaking, it came off too. Yeah, the next thing was cleaning up the stem. It had this cable inside the stem, which was super hard to get out, but I just got a pair of pliers and just eventually came out just by yanking and twisting, came off. Yeah. Alright, the next problem I had was a seized seat post. Yeah, so I started off with WD-40, putting the seat in the little drink bottle holes there, hoping it soaked through to the seat tube. And then I turned it upside down, tried banging it out a little bit. You can see there, put more WD-40 in there and just kept soaking it. Yeah, it's real pain. Banged it a few more times, used the wrench, tried to twist it to see if it would work. And then this was the next day after soaking it, me trying again, just trying to bang it out, trying to get a little bit of movement. But yes, it was pretty tough. And then yeah, more soaking and then more banging. And here you can see I put the frame on the ground, and what I wanted to do was at least try to twist it, get a little bit of movement in there. Yeah, but it was tough, so I ended up putting more WD-40 in the boss holes there, you can see, and then just try soaking a little bit more, bang it again, hoping it loosened up a bit. Yeah, this time when I banged it, some of the WD-40 dripped from the top down the seat tube, so I was thinking, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of movement there. But yeah, I ended up trying the ice method, putting, yeah, just a bag of ice so we can cool it down. Maybe it might shrink the metal a bit so I can move it. But yeah, that didn't work either. So just more banging again. Yeah, it was pretty tough. Here I was like, yeah, maybe I need a little bit more leverage to try and turn it. So I used the inside of my bike stand as a breaker bar, tried to turn it, and this is what happened. So yeah, you can see it turning here, but it's only actually turning just the top bit, and then the seat tube itself was still stuck. So at this point, I was like, yeah, I probably need some help on this one. Yeah, so loaded my bike frame onto the kid seat there. You can see that's my cargo bike as well, and took it to Bikes Please.
Sweet. Alright, now maybe we'll try going the other way. Yeehaw!
Yeah! Hell yeah! That's awesome.
Hopefully it'll be...
Dude, super stoked.
Cool, alright, maybe if we drop the top light in there.
Which way are we going? North?
Well, we'll just try and wiggle it up and out, I reckon.
Hey, hell yeah, that's sick. Super hyped. Damn.
I was laughing so much at your when this part started shifting. I'm like,
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was super hyped when it finally came out. Didn't know whether we could save the frame or not. But yeah, they were able to get it out. So yeah, big shout out to Sam and Ash at Bikes Please. I'm going to leave their info in the description. Yeah, if you're in Melbourne or live in Melbourne, yeah, hit them up. Check out their space, it's pretty cool. They'll fix your bike problems for you as well. Yeah, they actually did it in like 5 minutes. They used a little bit of penetrating oil and just put the seat post in a vise and use leverage to get it out. So yeah, if you need some expert help, there you guys. Alright, clean the parts. Here you can actually see that I got a new group set with some wheels from Bikes Please. Yeah, so I actually ended up only cleaning the XT stuff. I saved the other stuff for another time, but yeah, it's the same process again. So just, yeah, soapy water, using trays here. Just make sure don't lose anything, lose any bolts or anything. Just, yeah, scrub with hot soapy water. You can use degreaser as well, and that helps. I use a nylon brush that gets rid of all the dirt and stuff off. But yeah, pretty straightforward. Just, yeah, putting in the time to clean it off. But yeah, that's a big part of bike restoration, is just cleaning stuff up, making sure everything's okay. But yeah, you can see me just, yeah, taking apart the cranks there. There's these little bit of grease bits that was stuck in the kind of the crank bolts. They were like so hard to get out for some reason that I thought they were real bolts because I couldn't get them out. But yeah, it just turns out it was really hard packed grease. Yeah, you can see close up here. They actually look like bolts, but this is just hard packed grease. If you just squash them, they will break apart. But yeah, eventually I got it out just by pushing on it with an Allen key. And then after washing the parts, I just kind of clean them up with WD-40. Make sure you re-lube the areas that need to be lubed, so kind of like the springs and stuff. And then you use lubricant for that, not WD-40. So I use sewing oil, which seems to work pretty well. I'm pretty sure there's bike-specific lubricant they can use, but yeah, that works for me. Yeah, here you can just see me cleaning all the parts with just a rag. Alright, so yeah, one of the issues I had was with this old group, it was missing kind of like a adjusting washer and a little ring as well. So luckily I had that spare part of the other bike. I was able to get a similar washer and ring off one of the old brakes. So yeah, all I had to do was just sand down the top corner a little bit for it to fit. It didn't really adjust. It didn't really fit in perfectly. It would rub a little bit. So what I ended up doing was just sanding that top corner down a little bit, and then yeah, it worked out. wasn't too bad at all. Yeah, so if you're wondering what the difference between a high-end Shimano part and a low-end Shimano part is usually just the material it's made out of and the weight. Mechanically, I think it performs slightly better. I don't know how many extra watts you're gonna get from using it. Maybe the pro riders, people who are doing it for real, notice the difference. But yeah, for me it's just nice to have. Alright, using the white vinegar to get rid of the rust again. So yeah, you just pour it in, cover it. Usually I soak it somewhere between 8 and 24 hours. You just check it at 8 hours to see how it's going. Yeah, and then what you do is you just rinse it out and then use a brass brush to kind of brush off all the rust. Use WD-40 to kind of protect it from flash rusting again. Yeah, so the vinegar only does so much. But yeah, I was able to save the bolts, but I ended up replacing the quick releases with some spares that I had. Yeah, cleaning out the headset. Pretty straightforward here. Yeah, same thing, degreaser, and just you can soak it, but just brush it out, get all the grease out. It was in pretty good condition after I cleaned it and worked pretty well, so I just used the same thing. Alright, sanding down the frame, prepping the frame to get painted. Yeah, so pretty hyped on this because I didn't know what it was going to be. But yeah, it was True Temper AVR tubing, which was pretty light and strong. Not top of the line, but still I think pretty good tubing. And yeah, you can see it was yeah, made in Taiwan, designed USA. Most bikes made in Taiwan. And then yeah, it was a Diamondback, so I was super hyped on that. Diamondback Ascent. I end up looking up on the internet, and it's a 91. So yeah, not top of the range, not the lowest range either. So I was pretty hyped. It's going to make a good frame, good solid frame. So yeah, super stoked. Yeah, just setting the frame down again. I think what you can do is you can also use paint stripper. But yeah, I didn't do that because yeah, we're still in lockdown. I didn't have any paint stripper. I thought sanding it would be a little bit easier and would leave a coat of paint or primer for the paint to stick on better, and I could really kind of like smooth out the frame. Would paint stripper be easier? Yeah, maybe, but yeah, this is what I ended up doing. So yeah, sanding it down, getting rid of all the stickers. If some stickers are hard to get off, what I use a razor blade and WD-40, and yeah, that seems to work pretty well. You can also sand it off, but yeah, you might gunk up your sandpaper. But here, yeah, you can see it was pretty gross. So yeah, it took a while to kind of clean up the frame, get everything smoothed out. No dents on the frame, which I was pretty stoked on. Here you can see me pulling up the chainstay protector. It actually had this real cool neon orange color, which was the original color. But yeah, it was pretty hard to save this. But yeah, just more sanding. Yeah, you can see it. The sanding took a little bit, but yeah, sanding always does. You always notice a little bit that you haven't sanded. But yeah, I think to get a smooth coat, it's all in kind of the prep work. So make sure you take your time sanding. Here, I taped a little bit of fine grit wet and dry. I think it's 800 or something, and then you just clean out the seat tube a little bit, and that worked for me. Yeah, so it's all done, all sanded down, ready to go. Yeah, gotta do the forks too. Yeah, I did the forks and went over any of the last parts I needed sanding. Yeah, so all I had to do was just mask it. Alright, with masking the frame, I was wearing gloves just so I didn't want to get any oil on the frame at this point. So yeah, just mask off all the areas I don't want to get paint to. So yeah, the bottom bracket, seat tube, head tube. Here you can see I used a razor around the cups there, the headset cups. I ended up unmasking the bottom headset cup because it was pretty rough shape, so I just want to spray that as well. But yeah, you can see here, yeah, all the parts I masked off, and yeah, it's kind of all ready to go. Yeah, just one final wipe down to get rid of all the paint or sanded dust. And yeah, now it's all ready to get sprayed. Alright, spraying the bike. Okay, the paint I used was spray.bike paint. Spray.bike Australia hooked it up, so yeah, shout out to them. Thanks for giving me a few cans to try. So yeah, I'm going to try to give you an honest review of the paint itself. I've done a fluoro bike before with normal spray paint, so we can have a one-by-one comparison. Alright, so the first thing I noticed when I was using the spray paint, as soon as it came out, it would dry a lot faster. Almost the paint would come out dry as opposed to wet when it hits the frame. So I think that's why they recommend holding the can a little bit closer to the frame for more of a smooth or even coat. Yeah, so that's number one. The paint comes out dry, a little bit different, but it's going to give you less drips for sure. The curing time for the paint is 2 hours, which is amazing compared to normal spray paint, which is 24 hours. So yeah, if you want to, do another coat or do a fade or do something else, or try to even fix paint bits that you messed up on, you're gonna be able to do that a lot quicker. So yeah, definitely a plus there. Okay, number two is the handling of the paint. So because you have to hold a can a little bit closer to the frame, it's going to spray a little bit different. So I think there is pros and cons to this. So the pros, I would say some hard to reach areas where previously it was it's hard to get your hand into, you can do it with kind of the short spray. Yeah, and then on the other side of that is basically the areas where you want that longer spray. The paint is just going to dry a little bit different, just because you're further away from the frame. Yeah, the texture is going to be slightly different. Some people might not even notice the difference, but yeah, I just want to give you my experience with the paint. Yeah, another thing with handling the paint is it dries really fast. You can see the nozzle here. This is after I wiped it already, but paint tends to build up pretty quick because it dries up so quick. And then when I was shaking the can, some of the paint dripped on the frame, but I was able to kind of just sand those drips off with wet and dry. And then did kind of just like a light coat and resprayed it. Yeah, so basically if you just keep your nozzle clean with the wet cloth or something, I think you should be fine, you shouldn't have a problem. But yeah, it turned out pretty well. Alright, number 3, I'd say the finish of the paint. So you do get a lot more coverage, and it does act a little bit more opaque when you're spraying, so you get a more of a solid coat. It does dry with a little bit of a different texture than what you'd get from normal spray cans. It's more of, some people call it like a powder coat in a can, so like a fine powder, so it is a little bit textured. But what I ended up doing was just using a kind of like a wet cloth and wiping it down after it's cured. And yeah, you can see kind of how it looks, how it finishes. I think it turned out pretty well, pretty pleased with it. I still have to do another top coat on this, so yeah, what I'm going to do is kind of put the decals on first. So here you can see me wiping it down with a damp cloth again, trying to get it flatter for the decals to get on, getting rid of all the excess paint, any flakes, any dust that is still left on there. And then after I did that, I just started putting the decals on. I had these decals from my last Diamondback I did. I was lucky that it was an Ascent as well, so I just cut off the EX off the end and used the same decals. So it's pretty hyped on that. It's not, it's not period correct decals, but yeah, I think the typography looks better anyway. So I was pretty hyped on that. And then yeah, just putting on the decals. It's pretty straightforward. I think I made a little video about this. Just make sure you press it down and take it off. I did have a little bit issue on this one where one of the letters came off, but I was able to just kind of clean it and then put it back on. And I think once I sprayed it clear over that, it should be no problem. But yeah, it turned out pretty good. Yeah, so to spray the clear on, I'm going to use, put the seat post in. So what I did was just use cling wrap to wrap it up. You can wrap it pretty tight around the seat post and then just put the seat post in. It should not bunch up. Yeah, and then here you can see that I'm spraying the spray.bike clear coat. Has kind of like silver flakes in it, so I was trying to do a little bit of a fade. So with this spray can, it just sprays like normal spray paint, so from around 30 centimeters away, so it allows you to do the fade pretty well. And yeah, I was super hyped with how this turned out. You can see the sparkle paint on top. It's a little hard to show on camera, but yeah, you can kind of get the idea here. And then after I did that, I just end up spraying just like a clear coat on the bottom half, just to finish it up. But yeah, super hyped with how the paint turned out. I think it worked awesome. We'll see how it holds up in the future, and then yeah, maybe I'll do a little update just to see how the paint holds up. But yeah, pretty hyped on the paint. Yeah, I'll leave the details in the description. If you want to check them out, check them out. If you used their paints before, let me know what you think. Here's a picture of the entire frame because I didn't take a video, but yeah, there you go. Alright, putting the bike together. So yeah, I put the seat post in and it kept hitting the bottle boss, so I decided to just trim it down a bit. I think you can use a pipe cutter or whatever to cut it, but I just had a hacksaw, so I just used that. Yeah, just make sure you kind of score it all the way around. I used tape to kind of help me make a straight cut. It's not perfect, but it's pretty clean, and then you just sand it down for a clean finish. Yeah, here's some of the paint around the seat tube start coming off. So I think I didn't clean it well enough, or some grease got on there. So it kept kind of chipping. So I ended up just sanding the whole top down so I can kind of move my seat up and down without worrying. Here, just showing you the XT lever has a little plastic bit on it, and then I just had this one off the quick release. So I ended up just you can just take them off and put it on it, so it kind of looks like matching skewers. And then yeah, just putting the headset in there. Just make sure you grease it up, no problem there. And then yeah, just putting the bike together. Yeah, just putting on the rear derailleur, putting on the bottom bracket. Yeah, here I was just checking the alignment of the cranks, just because the old bottom bracket was a different size. I think the chain line wasn't lining up completely. Probably swap that bottom bracket out once I get one that's the right size. But it'll do for now. The chain line wasn't too bad. The new bottom bracket came while I was still waiting for another part on the bike. So yeah, here just putting the new bottom bracket in. The width is 73, in case anyone was wondering, and then the length of the spindle is 135. So yeah, pretty stoked about that. Makes the chainring line up a little bit better. Yeah, I also got a chain guard, and then here just putting on the brakes. Yeah, nothing too different here. Just making sure they're all greased up on the inside, the springs. Making sure, yeah, just making sure there's no play, and then just putting on the brake pads on. This is a little bit fiddly, but just making sure they line up with the rim. And then yeah, just the same thing with the back. And then yeah, just make sure that they're tight. Yeah, on one of my other bikes it wasn't tight enough, and I took it to the trails. But yeah, you find out real quick when it's not tight enough. So yeah, just putting on the front derailleur and then just the saddle. Yeah, just putting on the shifters onto the handlebars, and you can see there's a little bit of a little hole there because I actually just got pit bars. So what I ended up doing was just sanding it down a little bit just to make sure it slide on, and then using a little bit of duct tape, just tape over it just so no water gets inside. But that's it. Yeah, I'm using a stem adapter so I can run this BMX stem. But yeah, it looks kind of stupid with it so long up, so I ended up cutting it down anyway. So yeah, just score it all the way around, use masking tape for a guide, and then yeah, it should give you a pretty clean cut. Just sand all the edges and stuff. And then here, just putting it together, just the brake cable guide and the headset cap. Yeah, and then just yeah, put it in. I think it looks a lot better. And then what I did was I just measured out all the cables, the housing. I did this off screen as it took me a little while just to get the right length. But yeah, this is what it kind of looks like. My tip is just make sure you measure twice, cut once. You want them long enough so you get kind of free movement on when you're turning the front wheel, but not so tight that the cables are rubbing on your head tube. And then you kind of want them all to be the same length in front of the bike. Yeah, and that kind of I think looks the best. And then here, yeah, just putting on the brake cable in. Yeah, what I like to do is just back it off at the lever a couple of turns. Yeah, 2 or 3 turns, and then you just put your brake cable together, and then hold the brake pads tight against the rim, and then just do it up. And then what you can do is just wind it back in at the brake lever, and that should give you enough room to kind of pull your brake. Yeah, just putting on the gear cables here. Yeah, make sure you stretch out your gear cables and your brake cables before you put them on. Kind of stretch them out like a guitar string. So what I do is kind of hold one end and then put my thumb against the cable, and then you pull on it all the way the length of the cable. Kind of like if you're curling a ribbon, if that makes sense. But yeah, basically you just kind of want to stretch it out so you're getting rid of all the extra tension. And then that will save you from having to readjust after the first ride. Yeah, here just yeah, indexing the gears, pretty straightforward, and then just putting on the pedals here. Make sure you grease them up, and then just putting on grips. I just use water, and then that's it. One more thing, just change headset because it kept slipping, but yeah, happy with this. Here's the old bike, pretty run down, and here's the new one. That's the video. Yeah, super happy how it turned out. I think the paint looks really good. Yeah, didn't have too many problems, I guess, but it just took a long time to do. Yeah, let me know what you think of the bike in the comments, or hit me up in the DMs on Instagram. Yeah, I just want to say a big shout out to Bikes Please for helping out with the Seatpost and getting the parts, sourcing the parts. And then yeah, spray.bike, au.spray.bike for hooking up the paint. Yeah, I'm happy to test it out. It was pretty awesome. Yeah, so that's it. I guess stay tuned for the next one. We'll see what's going on. Peace.